I love this stuff. It's super cheap, easy to work with, and it can produce some incredible results. Let's make something. Concrete is nothing without a mold. This is melamine. It's used to make molds for traditional concrete products like countertops and tabletops. But when you're making smaller scale products, this is way overkill. It doesn't have to be nearly this complicated or expensive. Today we're exploring a simple and approachable way to make a quality concrete pen holder. I threw this mock-up together to give you an idea of the design we're shooting for. I just like having something physical to help visualize the final design, something that I can play with while I'm figuring out how to make the actual mold. Our design is pretty straightforward, and the overall shape of our mold will be too. All we need is a base and 4 walls to make our overall block shape, but making a hole for the pen is where things get a little more complicated. My best solution is to just use the actual pen. That way, the hole will be the exact shape you need. Of course, we can't cast concrete sideways like this, so we have to find a way to stand this whole thing up. That's more like, oh, hold on. Alright, that's better. So the mold has to be standing up just like this. This should do it. I just put 4 more walls in around the pen to keep the mold standing. So we've got our piece designed, we've got our mold designed, we're about ready to start actually building. The only thing we're missing are the actual supplies. So we're making this mold out of foam core, which is great because it's cheap, it's easy to get, and it's easy to work with. However, there is one potential problem. Foam board, or foam core, is a piece of foam sandwiched between 2 layers of paper. The foam is waterproof, but the paper isn't, which is a problem because concrete uses water to cure. So, in order to get the strongest possible concrete, we need to keep as much water inside of the mold as we can. I've got a few ideas about how to make our mold more waterproof, but we'll get to those in a bit. First, we've got to cut everything out. I made myself a template because I really didn't want to draw out all of these lines by hand. It'll probably end up looking a lot different after we test it out and make some changes, but I'll leave a link to the final version in the description so that you guys can use it too. These dots of glue dry a lot faster than a long bead would, so I was able to put everything together quickly. Now I'm just going to go back and fill in all of these seams so that they're watertight. Man, it is not easy to get the glue gun in here. It's hard to see in there, but I actually bent the foam core when I stuck the pen through it. It kind of went like this. Also, I was planning to put this piece on to help support the pen, but the hot glue ended up being strong enough on its own. Another thing I realized is that if these pieces aren't all cut perfectly, then this will end up pretty unstable. I think I'm going to go for a flat base instead. Okay, let's make those changes and take another crack at it. This time our base is flat, which makes it more stable and easier to glue. And instead of wasting all that foam core on these support walls, now we can just use something like a can or a cup. Our mold is looking good this time around, so let's finally cast some concrete. You can find bags of concrete at most hardware stores. There are lots of options out there, but you don't need anything fancy. Stick with the cheapest, most basic type. The only issue with this mix are these. Almost all concrete mixes you'll find in hardware stores have large pieces of gravel in them. These make for a stronger mix, and they're typically used for larger scale projects like stairs or patios. But we don't want these rocks to get stuck in the spaces between our pen and our mold, so we'll just get rid of them. Use whatever you can find, make something, or just pick them out by hand. Whatever you've got to do. I also threw together a second mold and I covered it in a layer of packing tape to make it waterproof. I'm curious how much of a difference this actually ends up making. And just for fun, I also filled up our first failed mold. This kind of looks successful, but yeah, that pen is pretty much in there permanently. I managed to get one pen out, but the tolerances are so tight that it can't go back in. That hot glue is also really stuck on there. As far as this guy goes, yeah. The mold we sealed with tape ended up giving us a much glossier piece, and the one we didn't seal actually didn't work out too well. The water loosened up the adhesive on the template and the walls of the mold separated. This time around, I put a few layers of packing tape around the end of the pen, and I used some Vaseline to help the pen come out easier. The pen slid right out, and once the tape was gone, that hole was just a little bit bigger than the pen, so it fit perfectly.
Get in the lift. You're following the pencil. Is that for anything like specific that you're doing it?
It's a how-to video for how to make this pencil holder actually.
A pencil holder, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you...
So
is it cement? What is it? Cement?
Yeah, it's concrete.
That's really good.
Go ahead.
You
Take
sure?
it. Yeah, it's all yours.
Really?
Yeah.
With the pen?
Yeah, with the pen.
Is it a trick?
It's not a trick.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Concrete is easy to work with, and you don't need years of experience or expensive tools to make a quality product. Give this project a try. I've got detailed instructions up on my website, but don't be afraid to mix things up. There's a lot you can do with this simple design. Try adding some different materials, like this cork base that I glued on, or even try changing the shape of the mold itself. Just make it your own. And if you do try this project out, let me know. I'll leave links to my Twitter and my Instagram down below, and I would love to see what you guys come up with. And I'm obviously no expert, but I might be able to answer some questions that you might have. Thank you for watching.